All right, everybody, get ready. Because today we're going deep into the world of nonverbal communication
Oh, exciting.
with Joe Navarro's The Power of Body Language.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
he was a former FBI counterintelligence officer, and he spent years
Wow.
just watching people and using body language to kind of figure out what they were really thinking.
That's amazing.
Isn't that wild? So we've got some fascinating excerpts from his book, and by the end of this,
I love this stuff.
oh, you're going to love this. You're going to be reading people like a pro.
I can't wait. You know, it's amazing how much we miss when we just focus on words.
Yeah.
Like there's a whole silent conversation happening right in front of us.
Right.
Navarro really emphasizes the limbic system, driving all these nonverbal cues.
The limbic system? Yeah, he calls it the honest brain, right?
It does.
It's kind of funny. I always picture like a little brain with a halo over it
Oh, that's cute.
when I hear that.
Well, think of it this way.
Okay.
The limbic system, it's the emotional core of the brain, right? Mm-hmm.
It reacts instinctively to
Yeah.
situations and kind of bypasses our conscious thoughts.
Oh, it
And
does.
all those reactions, they show up in our body language.
Oh, so you're telling me like someone could be saying one thing,
Exactly.
their body's like, no.
Exactly. Like, let's say you're in a meeting
Okay.
and someone says they're on board with this new project,
Mm-hmm.
but their arms are crossed like super tight.
Oh, right, yeah.
They're not making eye contact.
Yeah,
Their words are saying yes, but their body's like, hold on a minute.
that makes so much sense. It's like
Yeah.
you get that feeling,
Yes,
that gut feeling that something's off. Even if you can't put your finger on it,
you got it.
our limbic system's picking up on all those subtle cues.
It is. And what's so fascinating is
Yeah.
these limbic responses, they're pretty universal.
Okay.
You remember the Navarro story about the Grand Canyon?
Oh, yeah.
He's comfortable with heights,
Right.
but near the edge, his body just froze up.
Oh, God.
That primal fear response.
It just kicked in even though logically he knew he was safe?
I can totally relate to that. I had to give a presentation
Oh, yeah.
once to a huge audience, and my legs were like jello.
Oh, no.
Even though I knew the material like the back of my hand.
It's like our bodies have a mind of their own.
I know. So crazy.
It is, and that's why understanding nonverbal communication is so important.
Okay.
It gives us that glimpse into those raw, unfiltered emotions
Okay.
that people might be trying to hide.
So if our limbic system is driving all these nonverbal cues,
Right.
where do we even begin to figure them out?
Well, Navarro gives us kind of a roadmap
Okay.
by breaking down these body language hotspots.
Hot spots, I like it.
Yeah, starting with the feet, believe it or not.
The feet?
The feet, yeah, they can be really revealing.
What?
Really? He mentions foot direction as a big indicator of someone's intention, right?
Yeah, like if their feet are pointed towards the door,
Mm-hmm.
they're thinking about getting out of there, even if they're still talking to you.
Oh, wow.
Nikki.
Yeah. And then there's leg crossing.
Okay, yeah.
It can mean comfort and confidence, but it's not always that straightforward.
Right, because it depends how the legs are crossed.
You got it.
If someone's using it as a barrier, then it's probably like discomfort or defensiveness.
Exactly.
Wow, this is fascinating.
So moving up from the legs, let's talk about the hips.
Okay, the hips.
Navarro highlights how arms akimbo,
Arms akimbo.
hands on your hips, elbows out,
Yeah.
can be a power play.
Oh, interesting.
And then there's the concept of genital framing,
Uh-huh. Okay.
which, well, let's just say it's a way to assert dominance.
I'm intrigued. I have to admit that one made me chuckle a little bit.
It's funny, but it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
We use our bodies to communicate dominance or vulnerability.
Yeah, even in like subtle ways.
Absolutely. So now let's shift up to the torso.
Okay.
Navarro talks about how clothing and posture can project social status and honesty.
Okay.
Think about it. When we feel comfortable and open, we face people directly. We expose our chest and abdomen.
Right.
But when we feel threatened, we instinctively shield our front.
Oh,
We
yeah.
turn away or cross our arms.
Ah, the classic crossed arms.
Yes, but with the legs,
Yeah,
there's more to it.
I bet.
It's all about the grip.
The grip. Okay.
A tight grip means there's more negativity or anxiety.
Okay.
A loose hold might just be someone who's relaxed or needs a bit of self-soothing.
It's amazing how much we can communicate without even saying a word.
It's like each gesture is a puzzle piece.
Yeah.
You have to look at the whole picture.
Right, to understand the whole message.
All right. So speaking of intricate gestures, let's move to the hands.
The hands, right?
They're always moving, right? Revealing all these subtle cues.
Yeah.
about our emotions and intentions, and Navarro really dives deep into deciphering the language of the hands.
Okay, so we have everything from like the classic steeple,
Yes.
which apparently is like, I am confident.
Projecting confidence.
Yeah.
To like the more subtle cues of interlaced fingers. I mean, there are so many nuances to hand gestures.
I know, I'm learning so much.
It's even down to the thumbs.
Really
When
is.
someone is feeling confident, their thumbs tend to stick out.
Okay.
But when they're insecure, those thumbs tend to disappear.
Wow, that's wild. I never even thought about that.
It's fascinating, right?
It is. I remember reading about the difference between a full palm touch
Oh, yes.
and a fingertip touch.
Yeah, could you remind me about
Yeah,
that?
did you remember what that was?
Of course. So a full palm touch means warmth and connection,
Right.
whereas a fingertip touch is more distancing.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the difference between a warm embrace
Yeah.
and just like a polite handshake.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's like our hands are an extension of our emotions,
Totally.
reaching out to connect or pulling back to protect ourselves.
Right. And moving up from the hands, we get to the neck.
The neck.
Navarro makes an interesting observation about women covering the suprasternal notch,
Yeah.
that little dip at the base of the throat, as a sign of insecurity.
Interesting, right?
That is interesting. It's like they're protecting a vulnerable area.
It is. And finally, we reach the ultimate canvas of emotions.
Oh, the face. Yes.
Navarro starts with the forehead, pointing out those wrinkles there
Yeah.
are a dead giveaway for anxiety.
You can't really fake those, can you?
No, those muscles in the forehead are controlled by the limbic system.
Wow.
So those wrinkles, they appear automatically when we're feeling stressed or worried.
Huh. And then there's all the eye behaviors.
Oh, yeah.
You've got everything from eye blocking, like blinking, closing, or squinting,
Yeah.
which signals discomfort, to pupil dilation and constriction,
Wow.
which can reveal attraction or aversion.
Remember that fascinating thing about our pupils actually getting smaller?
Yeah.
When we see something threatening.
It's like our brain is sharpening our vision for a quick escape.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so cool how our bodies just do that.
It is amazing, right?
It is.
And let's not forget the eyebrow flash.
The eyebrow flash. Oh, yeah.
Such a small gesture, but it can have a big impact on how people see us.
Right. It's like an instant signal of, hey, I recognize you.
Yes, exactly. Approachability.
Yeah.
And finally, we get to the smile.
The smile.
Navarro makes a clear distinction between genuine and fake smiles,
Right.
emphasizing the role of the eyes.
Yeah. A genuine smile goes all the way to the eyes.
Got it.
You get the crow's feet wrinkles.
Exactly.
And a fake smile, it's just the mouth.
It's a small but important difference.
Go.
A genuine smile uses the muscles around the eyes,
Right.
whereas a fake smile, it's just the mouth.
Yeah, like you can tell if their heart's really in it,
Exactly.
or if they're just putting on a show.
Right.
And then there's lip pursing and like disappearing lips.
Yes.
Which can signal stress or disagreement.
Exactly. And even the chin can tell a story.
Oh, that's right. The chin. I remember reading about that.
Yeah.
Chin touching means thinking.
Oh.
Jaw touching is like pacifying.
Exactly. It's like our faces are a constant stream of nonverbal communication.
I know. It's a lot to keep track of.
It is so, with all these cues,
Yeah.
how do we even start to make sense of it all?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, one thing Navarro emphasizes is there's no magic lie detector gesture.
Oh. I was hoping for like a secret handshake or something.
Right. That'd be nice.
That would be so easy.
It would be so easy.
But it's probably more complicated than that.
It is. It's much more nuanced.
Okay.
So instead of looking for one big sign, we need to focus on clusters of discomfort displays
Okay.
within a certain context.
So if someone scratches their nose when I ask them a question,
Yeah.
they're not automatically lying.
Exactly. They might just have an itchy nose.
Oh.
Or they could be feeling anxious about what you're asking,
Okay.
even if they're telling the truth.
So context is key.
It is.
We need to look at the bigger picture and the person's like normal behavior.
Absolutely. What's normal for one person
Yeah.
might be a red flag for someone else.
Right.
That's why it's super important to establish a baseline for each person.
Right.
You know, observe how they usually behave
Right.
when they're relaxed and comfortable.
Okay.
And then look for changes
Got it.
when the stakes are higher.
That makes sense. It's like you're making a dictionary of their normal nonverbal cues.
Exactly.
Okay, I like it.
And speaking of changes from the baseline,
Yeah.
Navarro points out that liars often show over-controlled behavior.
Over control.
Yeah, they try to manage their deception
Right.
by suppressing their natural movements.
Oh, wow.
But that can backfire.
Like if you try too hard to look calm, you actually look more suspicious.
Exactly.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's like someone trying to hide a poker face,
Yeah.
but their leg is bouncing like crazy under the table.
Uh-huh. I've seen that.
Right. their attempt to control their body language can
Ah.
actually give them away.
Wow. So it's like a game,
It is.
trying to decipher all these little clues.
You got it.
I'm starting to feel like a nonverbal detective over here.
I love that. And the more we practice observing and interpreting these cues,
The better we become at understanding these unspoken messages.
this is all so fascinating.
It is.
I feel like I've been given a decoder ring for human behavior.
That's a great way to put it.
But I also have to say it's a little overwhelming.
It can be.
There's so much to remember.
I hear you. It's like drinking from a fire hose at first.
Right.
But remember, it's a skill
Yeah.
that develops over time.
So where do we even start to apply all this?
That's a great question.
Do we analyze like every little twitch and gesture?
You don't want to overthink it,
Okay.
but you can start by becoming a more mindful observer.
Mindful observer. Okay.
Pay attention to people around you, not just their words, but how they say it.
Okay, so like notice their posture,
Yes,
their gestures, facial expressions.
exactly. But don't jump to conclusions.
Right. We got to consider the context
This-
and get more information before we judge.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Non-verbal communication, it's like a puzzle.
Okay.
Each cue is a piece,
Right.
and we need to put all the pieces together to see the whole picture.
Yes. So it's about being observant,
Yeah.
but also patient and open-minded.
Okay, that makes sense.
And remember, our goal isn't to like catch people in a lie.
Right.
It's more about understanding their feelings and what they're really trying to say.
So it's about understanding and more authentic communication.
You got it.
This has been a really insightful deep dive so far.
It has.
We've gone from the brain all the way to the feet, exploring this world of nonverbal communication.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
Really?
There's so much more to explore, and I'm excited to continue this journey with you.
Awesome. I can't wait. It's funny, because I feel like we've all been aware of this, like, silent language
Yeah.
our whole lives,
Right.
We've felt those gut instincts about people,
Uh-huh.
but we haven't really had the words to understand it.
It's true, we often dismiss those instincts as just vibes
Yeah.
or intuition,
Totally.
but they're based on real observations
Yeah.
of nonverbal behavior. We're just now starting to understand the science behind it all.
Exactly. Speaking of science, one thing that really stood out to me
Yeah.
in Navarro's book
Yeah.
is he doesn't say to use these techniques
Mm-hmm.
to become like a human lie detector.
Exactly. He really stresses that
Right.
nonverbal communication isn't about catching people lying.
Right.
It's about understanding their emotions and intentions.
So it's more about empathy
Yeah,
than judgment.
absolutely. Like, imagine you're a parent
Okay.
and you're trying to understand why your kid is acting out.
Yeah.
Instead of just focusing on their words, you
Yeah.
can look at their body language for clues
Okay.
about what might be going on underneath.
So instead of saying like, what's wrong?
Yeah, which might get you a shrug.
Right. Or nothing.
Exactly. You can look for cues.
Yeah.
That might show sadness,
Yeah.
frustration,
Okay.
or even fear.
So like if they're avoiding eye contact
Yeah.
or fidgeting with their clothes,
Or clenching their jaw.
those nonverbal cues can really tell you a lot.
They can, even if they can't explain it themselves.
That's a really good example.
I like that.
It's like we're learning a whole new language,
Yeah.
the language of emotions through the body.
I'm realizing how much this could change how we interact with everybody.
Right.
Our partners, our kids, colleagues, even strangers.
It really can't. Think about it. If you're in a sales meeting
Okay.
and you notice the client kind of leaning back,
Yeah.
arms crossed,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's your cue to switch things up a little.
Okay.
Instead of pushing harder,
Yeah.
you could try to address their concerns
Right.
and build a real connection.
It's like reading the room
Exactly.
and responding in a way that makes sense.
Exactly. Being more sensitive.
Yeah.
That could be so helpful in so many situations.
Right. Especially like tough conversations.
Yeah.
Or negotiations.
Absolutely. And it's not just about reading other people.
Right.
It's about being aware of our own nonverbal communication.
You mean paying attention to our own posture and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Remember, it goes both ways.
Okay.
By understanding our own body language, we can manage the impressions we make
Right.
and make sure our cues match what we're trying to say.
So like if I'm going to a job interview
Yeah.
and I want to seem confident,
Mm-hmm.
I should stand up straight, make eye contact,
Yeah,
use open hand gestures.
exactly. And on the other hand,
Okay.
if you're trying to like calm a tense situation down,
Yeah.
you might relax your posture,
Yeah.
soften your gaze,
Mm-hmm.
and use calming gestures to help the other person feel at ease.
So we're basically directing our own nonverbal communication.
You got it.
That's so cool.
And this awareness can be really empowering, both in our personal and professional lives.
Okay.
It's about being more authentic and intentional in how we interact with the world.
This whole deep dive has been such an eye-opener.
It really has.
It's like I'm seeing the world in a whole new way,
Right.
noticing all these little things I never did before.
It's great, and that's just the beginning. There's so much more to explore
Wow.
in nonverbal communication.
Okay, so where do we go from here?
Yeah.
How do we take all this and actually use it every day?
Well, the first step is just to be more mindful.
Okay.
Pay attention to the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just listen to their words.
Yeah.
Watch their bodies.
Like really tune into their posture and everything.
Exactly. But remember, don't jump to conclusions.
Right. We need to consider the context
Yes.
and get more information before we make judgments.
It's like putting together a puzzle.
Okay.
You need to look at the whole picture.
Yeah.
Think about the person's normal behavior,
Right.
the situation,
Mm-hmm.
and anything else that might be relevant.
So being observant, but also being patient,
Yes.
open-minded, and not overthinking it.
That's a great summary. And remember, it's a skill.
Right.
You get better over time with practice.
Okay.
The more you pay attention to these cues, the better you'll get at reading people.
Right. And understanding those unspoken messages.
And the best part is it can completely change
Yeah.
how we interact with the world.
This whole conversation has been so insightful
I agree.
and thought-provoking.
It's amazing how much we can learn
Right.
by just paying attention to this silent language of the body.
Okay, so let's say our listeners are ready to put this into practice.
Yeah.
What's the best way for them to start using these ideas in their everyday lives? So it feels like we've got all these tools now, but like, how do we actually use them?
Well, the cool thing is you already are.
What's a...
Yeah, we pick up on these cues every day without even thinking about it.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It's how we handle social situations, build connections, even sense danger.
Right.
We're just kind of adding a layer of awareness now.
So instead of just reacting automatically, we can actually, think about it.
Exactly. You can start recognizing those cues and figuring out what they might mean.
Okay, I like that.
It's like learning a musical instrument.
Oh, okay.
At first, you're fumbling around, trying to find the notes. But with practice, it becomes like second nature.
So the more we practice observing and interpreting these cues, the better we get at it.
Exactly. It's like becoming fluent in nonverbal communication.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
It opens up this whole new world of understanding.
And connection.
One thing that really stood out to me in Navarro's book was how important it is to establish a baseline for each person.
Oh, that's so important.
Can you talk about that a bit more?
Of course. So everyone has their own nonverbal patterns.
Right.
What might be anxiety for one person could be totally normal for someone else.
Okay, so someone who's more reserved
Yeah,
might not use as much body language,
exactly.
while someone who's more outgoing might be super expressive.
You got it. And that's why it's crucial to understand each person's individual, nonverbal vocabulary.
Nonverbal vocabulary, I love that.
Yeah, you observe how they act
Yeah.
when they're relaxed and comfy.
Okay.
So you can spot any changes when
Right.
things get intense or the situation shifts. That makes a lot of sense.
It's like you're creating this personalized dictionary of their nonverbal cues.
I love that analogy.
And once you have that baseline,
Yeah.
you can start looking for those tiny shifts.
Okay.
That could signal a change in how they're feeling,
Okay.
what they're thinking.
So if someone who's usually super lively suddenly becomes really quiet and still, that could mean something's up.
Exactly. It could be stress, anxiety, or even that they're hiding something.
Oh, wow.
But remember, context is key.
Right. We can't jump to conclusions based on just one thing.
Exactly. You got to look at the big picture
Yeah.
and gather more info before you assume anything.
So it's about observing, but also being patient.
Yes.
Okay.
Open-minded.
And not overanalyzing.
Got it.
And that's where the real skill comes in.
Okay.
Learning to read those cues along with the situation, the person's normal behavior, and anything else that's relevant.
So it's not just about memorizing gestures.
It's about really understanding human behavior.
Exactly. And as you practice, you'll start noticing patterns, making connections.
Okay.
And developing your own intuition about what those cues mean.
It's like being a nonverbal detective.
I love that.
Trying to solve the mystery of human communication.
And like any good detective, you got to be observant, open-minded, and consider all the evidence before you decide anything.
So what advice would you give our listeners who are just starting out?
Well, just start by paying more attention.
Okay.
Watch the people around you, their posture, their gestures, their facial expressions. Notice how those things change depending on who they're with, what they're talking about, this situation.
So it's about being more present.
Yes.
More mindful.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask questions.
Okay.
If you don't get a certain gesture, just ask the person about it.
Oh, that's a good idea.
You might be surprised by what you learn.
It's like we're allowed to be curious about people.
Exactly. And remember, this is a journey, not a destination.
I like that.
There's always something new to learn in the world of nonverbal communication.
This deep dive has been incredible.
It has been fun.
I feel like I understand this silent language so much better now.
I'm glad to hear that.
And I bet our listeners do too.
I hope so.
Well, until next time, everybody, happy decoding.